Hello, traveler, and welcome aboard the Weird Wagon. I'm Florian, I'm taking us to wherever my brain decides we're going today, and I'm inviting you to hitch a ride. If this is your first time traveling with me, welcome, glad to have you here. If you rode with me last time, then welcome back. I have beverages today, and so should you. So, in my last video, I broke down the Dungeons & Dragons open game license. I explained OGL 1.0, and then I explained the new OGL 1.1 and what it all meant, as well as what Wizards of the Coast was changing. But the thing is, and I mentioned this at the time, I kind of made the video too late. By the time I got done writing and recording and editing, WotC had already released OGL Draft 1.2. I said I was going to break that document down as well, the same way I did with 1.0 and 1.1, and that was what this video was going to be. However, it's not, because before I got even halfway through writing that script, WotC announced that they would be walking back those decisions. Based on the feedback they got on the official form attached to 1.2, they decided to leave 1.0a in place as is. They're also licensing the entire System Reference Document, or SRD, under a free-to-use Creative Commons license. In this video, I'm going to talk about what all that means, albeit more briefly than in my other video. But I'm also going to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about subscription-based services and what this whole debacle has proven to us as consumers. So, sit down, hold on tight, and let's get going. First of all, let's talk about the SRD. The SRD is a document that defines what aspects of D&D you can use when you create third-party content. Basically, it's the mechanics, rules, features, and lore that are publicly available. There's a lot covered under the SRD, and repeating it here would basically be going over a large sections of the Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide, but if you want to read it yourself, I'll link it in the description. To make a long story short, it just defines what 1.0a refers to as open game content in more explicit detail. The Creative Commons licensed SRD begins with a statement saying that the SRD is licensed for free use under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. They ask you not to imply any connection to WotC as a company aside from their licensing acknowledgement, which you must include somewhere in your work. The licensing acknowledgement is as follows. Quote, "This work includes material taken from the System Reference Document 5.1, SRD 5.1, by Wizards of the Coast, LLC, and available at... link. The SRD 5.1 is licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License, available at... also a link." End quote. Now, you may be wondering what a Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License is and what it means. It's a license that entitles the public to use, adapt, remix, transform, and distribute any work that is licensed under said license. You can do so commercially or non-commercially, and you don't have to pay the owner of the original work to do so. You do have to be in compliance with the Creative Commons terms. So, what does all of this mean for the SRD? Well, the biggest thing to note is that this license is irrevocable, well and truly. Wizards of the Coast doesn't own or control the Creative Commons license. Creative Commons does. This is huge. They can't change the terms, they can't take it back in 30 days, they can't deauthorize it. SRD 5.1 is well and truly out of their hands. This is a huge victory on the part of the D&D community, and one that everyone fought tooth and nail to achieve. So, what have we learned, and what can we take away from all of this? Let's talk about why things shook out the way that they did. When OGL 1.1 got leaked, the community was outraged, and rightfully so. It was a mess, and one that WotC tried backpedaling on by claiming it was just a draft. It wasn't. And that they'd always been planning on soliciting feedback from the community. They hadn't. They then said that they'd release OGL 1.2 along with a feedback form. According to WotC, the survey made it very clear what people wanted. And while I have no doubt that the survey did play a role in the outcome we got, I'm also reasonably certain that it wasn't the main reason. No, the main thing that got WotC's attention and forced their hand was D&D Beyond. Specifically, people were en masse canceling their D&D Beyond subscriptions, to the point that their website crashed. Subscription data was the fastest financial information that they had access to, and it painted a very ugly picture. So this is what got WotC to fold. And that brings me to the real reason I'm making this video, which is subscription services. More and more things in our daily life are becoming subscription-based. As consumers, the general consensus is that this kind of sucks. It's easier to buy outright, and it's cheaper for us in the long run. Every entertainment company these days seems to have its own streaming platform that you have to pay for. If you have software that you use for your job, you have to pay to continue using it. Articles are behind paywalls. You can't buy things outright. Ownership is becoming increasingly slim. From a business standpoint, this makes sense. People pay you consistently for your service, and for as long as you have customers, you have income coming in. From the standpoint of a customer, this can get really expensive really fast. Even if you're paying just $8 a month for your Netflix subscription, if you also have 3 or 4 services that cost a similar amount, those costs start to add up. But if this whole mess with WotC has made one thing very clear, it's that there's one aspect of subscription services that puts power into the hands of the consumers. As consumers, a subscriber-based model allows us to take direct action in a way that one-time purchases just don't. The thing that really forced WotC to listen to what people were saying wasn't the hashtags, it wasn't the angry emails, or the YouTube videos. They were probably expecting those things, but they were also expecting it to blow over fairly quickly. Sure, people will be angry for a little while, or get some angry emails, but it'll pass. The thing that made WotC reevaluate, though, was the subscription cancellations. When the D&D community complained not just with their words, but with their money, that got their attention. I've seen people protest decisions that companies have made by burning expensive merch or throwing away products, and that makes a statement, sure, but with things that are one-time purchases, the company doesn't care. They've already gotten your money. You destroying their stuff just doesn't affect them. That's on you. However, with subscription-based services, it's a little bit different. Your money comes to them over time rather than all at once. Having as many people as possible staying subscribed is important to the company. If a company makes a choice that causes a lot of people to unsubscribe, then they are losing money, which forces them to, at the very least, reevaluate their decision, if not change their minds. We saw this the other day when Netflix tried to crack down on password sharing. The backlash was extremely strong, and when a significant number of people started complaining with their money, Netflix quickly backpedaled. They claimed that it was just a draft of an idea that had been floating around for a little while. We know it wasn't, because Netflix customer support employees had been prepped with the answers to expected questions, such as, I have a child in college, how will this affect me? Does that sound familiar? So, if you take anything away from this whole nightmare debacle hellscape, then I hope it's that even though it might seem like you have no way of getting huge mega corporations to hear what you're saying, if enough people start complaining with their money, they will listen. If you've stuck around this long, then congrats, you've made it to the end of the video. It's a lot shorter than the last one was. Thank you so much for watching. I almost didn't end up making it, but with Netflix trying similar fuckery so close to WotC doing it, I thought it was important to explain why these situations turned out how they did. If you have thoughts on this whole nightmare situation, or questions about anything I said in the video, or you think I'm wrong, or you just enjoyed, let me know in the comments. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Stay safe out there, and I hope to see you the next time the Weird Wagon rolls around. Bye for now!